Alright everyone, I'm Demon, Macabre unit, and today I'm going to show you some drums on Ableton. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is a kick drum. Yeah, so basically you just want a basic kick, resonates nice. Whatever your ear kind of pings up to. I quite like that. So, I'm going to drop that in here. What are we on here? Let's just set the tempo real quick. Let's go for the old 140. I know, like a bit 140, don't you? Oh, sorry, I mean dubstep. Or whatever you guys call it these days. Yeah, so I'm going to just drop the kick drum in here. Quickly shift the tempo up to 140. And just get it on a short loop. Alright, let's get it on a 2-bar. I mean, I've got a habit of getting that whole kind of half step thing to start with my kicks. I end up making most of my tunes like that, actually, to be fair. I rarely even use snares like they're meant to be used anymore. Well, how is a snare meant to be used, do you know what I mean? How long's a bit of string? Right, I'm just going to copy these over real quick. Alright, so that's the ye old faithful RAF special kick start ting-a-ling, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna look for a snare that just resonates. I'm not really gonna. You can hear a bit of air on that kick. It's a bit horrible, but I'm not really gonna pay attention to that too much right now because you start deducting stuff out of things now. I don't know. Just throw it all in there, man. Even if it sounds horrible, and then just sort it all out after. Even though I'm sitting here, bloody fading everything off. Cool. So I'm gonna look for some snares now. You know, with the whole snare thing, people say, how'd you get your snares? Sometimes it's one snare. Sometimes it's 7 snares. Sometimes it's 3 or 4. You basically just go with the flow, man. If you feel that you need another layer, listen to what you need. You don't just throw stuff in there. Listen to it and just think, oh. See, I like that. That's got a nice bite to it. I know it's a bit of a, probably a common snare used, but, I'm not trying to change the world here right now. I'm just trying to show you something. Basically, what's attracted me to that snare is the bite. You look at the bite here; it's really punchy. It's just got a lot of bite. When the snare hits, there's nothing worse than a flabby snare that's like in the place of a snare, but it's acting like just not right. You want it to have bite. Some snares don't have bite, and that's when your layers come into it. So you'll get a snare that's got a really nice tail, but the bite on it's not very good. So you just find a good bite. Good tail, put it together, and you've got a snare, So for now, I'm just going to chuck that in here. Something basic. I'm not going to go too mental. So yeah, I mean, I actually quite like that the way it is, in all honesty. It's a bit tiniest bit. See as well, like when you put snares in and stuff, because you've got different frequencies, you might lay a kick drum a certain way, but when you get the snares in there, you're hearing your kick drums differently. You're like, it's just talking to you differently, and that's the frequencies that are telling you that you can actually do more with this than just something basic. So I'm hearing a kick after that snare. Because the snare's got that much bite, you can kind of have something snapping off the back of it. Let's go in here quickly, I think it's there. So that could even come back again. It's got that bite. I quite like that. See, that's a straight club drum. Do you know what I mean? You get that in the back of your track. That's club music. I mean, for me, I do always aim for that sort of thing because I DJ in clubs and people want to dance. So naturally, I kind of steer towards that uplifting stuff. But the stuff I've been making lately, it just changes halfway through, and it will just go into some like just a kick drum, and then it will just totally change up into some triplets, amens, and all sorts of stuff. So. This is literally just an example, and it could be just one part of the drop. This could be like your 65 drop, your mixing part, so to speak, or whatever. I quite like that. I mean, I still personally think that snare could do with a bit more of a harder slap at the bottom. It's got a nice kind of poke about it, but it does need a bit of a clatter behind it as well. So I'm gonna just get another audio track up quickly and just go looking for another snare again, but not just for any snare. Like I just said, I want something with a bit of a slap in the bottom of it, so I'm gonna look for something with a bit of a slap in it. I'm not like, see, that's quite nice. I just don't know if it's the same as that other snare. Hold on. Sometimes you do that. You end up picking the same snare twice, and you think that sounds familiar, and it's actually the same snare. See, we've already got a little bit more shape there, even though it's all. I think another thing as well, like, you know, when you're shaping up your kicks, it makes sense to have them all kind of the same, draw them the same. So yeah, it might not sound like, you can see here, this has got like an extra little thing here, so I might actually cut that back to avoid whatever that is there poking through, because that's going to be some weird kind of hat on the end of it. I do a lot of stuff without listening to stuff, because I'm amazing. I'm joking, because I'm just a bit weird. I don't know. I just it's like a little bit of a potluck, you know. You move loads of stuff around, and then all of a sudden press play, and it either sounds like not very good, or you think, bloody hell, that's all right, like sort of thing. So yeah, straight away, hear the difference in the bite, tone. That's like talking to you a bit more. I'm not trying to show you anything that's going to change your life, but I'm just showing you what I do, basically. See, I don't know if that. Yeah, they got a similar kind of frequency in them, so you want to kind of like dock out. You want to kind of counteract the frequencies. You don't want all of the same frequencies just hitting, because obviously every snare's got its own attribute which you're using it for. So just remember to kind of like, not too much, but like reduce the bits that you don't necessarily need, that will probably just clutter up your mix. Alright, we're going to show you some EQing now. I'm going to use my favourite EQ, and probably everyone's favourite EQ, to be fair. On the second snare, I'm going to open up the Pro Cube. So yeah, basically, on the second snare, like I was saying, you know, you see straight away, look at that little thing there. I don't really need to be there. So we'll just shape that up. You don't want to take out too much of anything. Now, that's a lot of weight there, which you don't really want in a snare, but then you don't want your snare to be too skinny. You want it to have depth, you want it to punch through. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, bearing in mind, them snares are pretty leery in that kick drum. I could probably come up a couple decibels, so I'm just going to bring that up a bit. Remember as well, like, I'm quite conscious of my starting levels. A lot of people go on about mix downs and stuff. Just quickly, you know, they say a lot of big jobs are all in the preparation. You prepare for something properly, it will be much easier ride, and you'll be able to do pretty much what you need to do. So, in other words, a simple thing like your kick. If you're starting to tune with your kick drum, make sure it's at 0. Don't have it at like -8 or whatever it is, because your whole mix is going to be like that. And you say that, yeah, okay, I'm going to turn it up by the master and drive it. It just don't really work that way. Do you know what I mean? So just be mindful of that. It's something small, but like now, you've just seen me boost that to the 0 point. You know, although I hold my hands up, I do get a bit excited with my kick drums, and they always have to come down. But when I'm making a track, I like to a kick drum is like a spine running through the tune. I need to be hearing it. But in time, yeah, it does get toned down, it does get tweaked in now when you get your bass in and other stuff on it, but you know, that's another journey. So, that snare now is quite nice. So that snare's still, so you take that one out, it's still got nice tone, but that gives it a bit more vibe, you know. So I quite like that layer of the snare. So what I might do with that, just duplicate it quickly and go into it again. Go back into the EQ, take out all of the bottom end, because what I'm going to do with this, just delete that little notch there. What I want to do is kind of reverb that ever so slightly. Remember, like, because you've got different snares and stuff, different frequencies, you're going to have different tones and almost keys in your drums, and as you probably well know. So obviously when layering and when you're doing little things like wanting to apply reverb on a snare, maybe use the same snare, because it will affect stuff and you will sit there for a while going, what? I don't get it. So just to make it easier for yourself, you know, it's just stop a minute and just think about what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So I still got way too much weight in it. Actually, I quite like it like that. Because you want to give, when you're reverbing something, you want to give the reverb something to reverb. You take everything out of it and you've got nothing to really mess with. So I'm going to... Cool. Alright, so I've got that that third layer of the snare. So that's quite nice. It might even as well, like you can... Because you don't need that bite there at the beginning. Remember, we're using this to kind of reverb. So we can even just take that. You don't want too much biting, because, you know, you had a sub on there and you had a hat on there and that's all added weight, and then all of a sudden you listen to your mix and you're like, what's going on? What's all that weird pokey stuff going on? Just think about what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? It's just you know, don't just do stuff for the sake of doing it. Just think about what you're doing. Alright, so I'm going to use a basic Ableton reverb on here, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I called it basic. It's just you know. So I'll go for a small room. So obviously, like, I'm thinking it's drums. You know, I don't want a massive, big, wishy-washy reverb. Even snare room. Like, why not? Like, people say, oh, presets, whatever. But it's a snare room preset. Why not put it on your snare and see what it sounds like? You know. It's quite nice. So let's get a bit of... See, now what I've done there accidentally, I've, you see here, I've faded that one, but this one's faded. You can see it adds a different dynamic to the different snares, like talking a bit different. But obviously, bearing in mind, you only have to look at this one and look at this one, and you know that this one needs to come down a bit in volume. So we'll just pull that down and basically just get it roughly the same level as the other one. Again, it's just a bit of common sense. Or how loud should it be? Well, just as loud as the other one, you know, because you want them to be doing the same thing, just talking a bit different, you know, one in one language and one in another. You know, some might say that's a bit too much reverb, and you know, as you progress into your mix, you might add some other percussion and some hats and stuff, which might make that reverb stand out too much. So you just tone it down a bit, but you need to start somewhere. So just apply stuff and just kind of roll with it and keep it basic. Don't add too many layers before you've actually like spent a little time on your current layer. Like I say, throw stuff in, but don't just throw anything in there. Like, just keep applying layers and just nice and easy. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I quite like that. That's rolling. I might again during the progress of the track apply another 2 snares. You know, as the tune goes in, as I get the bass in there and the sounds, you might lose the snare. The snare might get lost in like the mix. So I might need to saturate them. I might group them, for instance. Let me just show you that quickly. So what I'm going to do here is highlight them all, stick them in a group, because I want them to basically be treated as one snare. The saturator in Ableton is really, really good. It just does what it says in the tin. Stick it on a soft song and don't touch nothing. Just bang. You get that bite. So we turn it on and off. See, it's okay. But there, it's coming through more. Now you might find again it's too much during the mix. You might think you might not need it. But I put it on now, so it's staying that way. And it kind of like, I think it's not a bad thing to maybe push stuff right at the beginning as well. I don't know, like, you know, myself, I like to have a real kind of heavy driven mix. So again, I can't just get my mix at the end and just drive it. It just doesn't work like that. It's all about gradual distortion and saturation throughout the mix from start to the end, which gives you that big, bulky, Larry sort of mix. You know? So yeah, I've applied that now, and that's pretty hard. So that's a snare in its basic form. Again, you know, like I said, I might apply some more snares. I might even deduct a snare. I might even take one out. You know, I might move it. The pattern might change, whatever. But as I said to you, you know, we have to start somewhere. So I quite like that. It's all about what gets your ears. You have to remember as well, like, this might sound a bit like, ooh, you know, wisdomy, whatever the weather. But you've been working on a loop for what? We've been working on this for half hour, let's say. My ears and my brain are recognising them frequencies, them sounds. So when I'm looking for hi-hats and stuff, my ears are kind of comparing as I'm going along without me noticing. Now, don't ask me how I've come to this conclusion, but I have. So take exactly what you want from it. I don't know, but your subconscious will guide you to a hat, because you're flicking through sound and you'll go, oh yeah, I like that. And that's not because you just like it. It's because when you put it in your mix, it's going to sit in there. But you wouldn't notice that. I think way too deep, but that's just me. Hats, you know, as well, you don't want them too regimented. You move stuff about. I'll show you something in a minute. Yeah, I'd probably have that as a closed hat. We drop that on there. Tighten it up a bit though. See, I'll be honest here, this is not biting. Well, I want to bite. We'll put it here. Yeah. See, that's resonating a bit better now. Sometimes, even though waveform is where it starts, just look at it, and you kind of know that it's just a bit out, and you can hear it. I mean, I'm the sort of guy that will snap my hi-hats off anyway, but when you're starting it, it needs to be on. You need to have it all kind of like a bit quantized and regimented, whatever. I'm just going to copy these over real quick. Again, you don't want that hat too loud. I mean, don't go in there start taking the bass out and all that stuff. Just turn it down a bit. Just get it in the mix like everyone. You know, there's, you know, hi-hats is you don't want that stuff too thin. Top end is horrible. A lot of top end, and when you take out bottom end, you allow room for more top ends just to breathe through. So just leave the sound as it is. Like, you'll notice through your mix as you monotonously keep listening to a track. I don't know if you do the same as me, but I just listen to a song over and over and over again. I just pick out these little bits, and that's when you kind of go over and fine tune everything. Where you think, oh, that hi-hat does have a little bit too much weight, where it's just affecting the kick drum or the snare or something. So yeah, but to start with, leave it nice and thick. You know, leave the depth there and stuff, and just kind of roll with it. Don't go too mad on it. So I'm gonna now get another snare. Probably just be predictable and get an open hat. Why not? I just used a closed one. Actually, I quite like that as well. And you don't want too many hats knocking everywhere and like sounding all weird. So, but it's cool to like just lightly have little layers of hats in there. You don't even have to hear them like hitting like a hi-hat. It needs to just be there, adding to the groove, you know. Yeah, I mean, we'll just stick that in there. You can turn that right down. Just get it lower. Again, a little bit of common sense. These hats are from the same pack. possibly could be around the same volume. That one's at -6. I want that one to be lower. Put it at -12. Save yourself the bother of trying to figure out what's what. Do you know what I mean? And it's still too loud, but you see how it's there, but it's not. And it just adds flow. It just adds a little bit of a tiny bit of movement, which is pretty cool. So we'll copy that over again. Okay, that there again. I haven't faded off none of the ends and stuff. You know, I'll do that when I need to. At the moment, we're just trying to concentrate on just getting a nice break going. Right, so I'm going to look for that open hat that I was looking for. But again, you know, I was looking for an open hat, but I heard something else that I liked, so I just quickly diverted. And then you quickly come back to what you was doing anyway. You know, you don't have to sit there and just search for a hi-hat. If I start finding effects, I'm just going to start chucking them in. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, there's stuff you just chuck it into an audio track and just mute it. So you're sampling all the time. That's quite nice. See, I'm hearing that already. I've already EQ'd that out in my head. I know that all the bottom end's got to come out of that, and you can see how thick it is just from that wave. So again, let's just get let's get all of that out of there. Just don't need to be there. I'm just going to tone it down a bit because I don't want it to just be a nice open hat. I don't want it to be like balance it out, you know. So close it up a bit as well. I know it's an open hat, but I don't want it to be too wishy-washy. It's all about the snap in your breaks, you know. I don't really use a lot of reverb in my drums and stuff. My snare, I've actually used reverb on a snare here for an example for you guys, but I'll be honest, a lot of the stuff's quite dry. I like it to be quite edgy and a bit biting and stuff, and I find that reverb can sometimes spoil that if you kind of use it the wrong way, sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a squelching, you know, kind of thing. But, I think percussion it's probably cool to use reverb because you kind of gel everything together. It kind of blends everything together. But again, it all depends on what you're kind of trying to do. So, you know, if you're looking to have that kind of sort of thing. Yeah, sometimes you'll get something in there that you think only just don't work. But again, let's just want a bit of sound in there. It's just another layer. A sound that you might select might not be what it was meant to, what it started out being. You know, I've had pads that have turned into bass lines and kicks that have turned into percussion, and you know, it's what it is, man. Right, so I think that's a bit loud, so we'll get that down a bit. Yeah. Yeah, some stuff's there and you don't notice it, but it's all about muting stuff on and off. That's the key as well. You might sit there for half hour working on the unit and stuff, and yeah, it sounds amazing, la la la. Mute it on and off, and you'll see exactly what it's doing. You need to keep flashing back to what the sound originally was, because you're gonna, you know, you just have to pay attention. Start getting mad soon. Just pay attention. So that's basically that's a nice loop. That's ready for a drop. You could now start throwing bass lines in there if you wanted to. You know, you could apply some pads. You could do whatever. Now I'd say that's a pretty steady drum. I'd say the rest of the progression I'd probably have it in drops. So there might be a section that will have bongos in that break, some rides. What I might put in here actually are some rides, because rides are cool. And they sound like a metal sheet going over your drums if you do it properly. Take me for a ride, I are. Ting, ting, ting. I quite like that. it sounds a bit leery, but I'm looking for more the top end in that ride. So sometimes you have to kind of improvise in your own head. You're not just looking for a straight cowbelly type ride sort of thing going on. You want more of the sheen off the ride, I call it. Makes it sound all like a sheet of metal. Alright, so I've just laid that in there quickly. I just tidy up the back end of these rides because you don't want weird clips and stuff. I just want that sheen. Yeah, that top end. So that's what I kind of want to be using. So I'm going to... God, let's do it properly. Let's get the analyzer on so we know what we're taking out. We already knew what we was taking out. Come on. So... you can see that's panning quite a lot to the right. That's going to cause you problems. I mean, whatever tool you wish to use to make your channel mono, I'll just use this utility thing in Ableton. If you don't know about that utility, you can turn stuff to mono instantaneously. But be mindful of that, because you'll effectively put in two kind of channels together, and sometimes if you're doing it with bass lines and stuff, yeah, you get phasing, and it could cause you problems. But just be mindful, and if it sounds a bit crap, just on and off, mate. Do you know what I mean? Just get it off. It's no pressure. No one's making you do anything. Alright, so that's really loud, as you can hear. You can see I was adding a nice little layer now once you get in the mix nicely. But obviously I don't want it hammering over everything, so I've got my kick drum there. This is why Ableton's really, really cool for this. I'm going to sidechain that ride to the kick drum to start with, because I'm probably going to sidechain it to most of the hits, because, well, I just don't want it hitting at the same time as my hi-hats. You know, a big ride, hi-hats on top. You could kind of see the problem. Anyway, sidechaining on here is just basic stuff. Just open up a standard compressor in Ableton, turn on your sidechain, go to your input. As you can see, my kick drum is audio 3, so that's audio 3. I'm going to take the attack down literally to nothing. I'll put it on 2 just because I'm feeling generous. Leave that on nothing, absolutely. Just pull it right down, and you get... I like it when it's a bit crunchy. That's probably a bit too much. Yeah, it depends if you need them. Yeah, if you need a bit of reverb, stick some on. I'm still not quite. I've still got quite a lot of weight in it. That's better. Fuck. That's quite nice. So yeah, there you go. That's another layer. Bit loud, a little bit metally. Turn it right down, leave it in there, and just move on to something else. You got them shakers? I'm a bit of a sucker for shakers. I love shakers. They just hold a massive groove. You can put them on anything, like beans, you know, chips and beans. Yeah, the soft ones. You got the soft, yeah. that first one, I'm not gonna lie, for having no audio, that's pretty tight, isn't it? Hold on. Yeah, I can hear you all clapping. I know. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that as it is. No word of a lie. That's absolutely fine like that. I'm gonna cut that piece. I'm gonna turn it down slightly. I think I'll turn the whole channel down slightly, actually. Again, I mean, they sound a bit distorted, a bit leery, but I like that. You want to start trying to clean that up, you're just going to spoil the sound. So, all I want, just want that little bit of movement from that shaker. Get rid of that one a bit. Well, I say get rid of it, you're almost just kind of muting it, just getting it out of the way. Just remember that you've got it there, you know, and during the track, you can then utilise this whole bit here, which I've recorded, which is, you know, just straight up shaker. Some of it will need stretching into place and stuff, but that's the fun part. You can stretch it into place, but it could be out of place. What is the place? You know, where are we? Who are we? Yeah, so I really like that. And the thing is, yeah, you might think, oh, it's not doing nothing. It is, trust me. But you just got to mute it on and off to realise what it's doing. See? So you got the movement from the other hit. You know? Again, it's just another small layer. And you've played it in yourself with a little egg shaker, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Tell everyone at school and that, tell all your mates at shop. So yeah, I'm gonna call that a wrap. Chicken tikka one. No. That's that's that, mate. That's a pretty decent drum loop. Ready to cave in the club. So thanks for locking in.